Petra, a hidden city of rose walls and ever-changing light. Built by the Nabatean people around 2,000 years ago, these traders created a capital city worthy of their power and wealth. Its most famous monuments are known around the world. The treasury, the monastery. Whether on foot or by mule, those adventurous enough to climb up the steep rock face will be rewarded with some of the most spectacular scenes in the Middle East. But Petra is just one of this region's ancient treasures. The area is rich in archaeology, evidence of generations living close to a changing land.
It's just packed with archaeology. The history, the depth of history in this place is amazing, and the ebb and flow of human settlement and civilization through time.
A newborn lamb. The work of this shepherd would have been familiar to ancient Jordanians, but while some aspects of farming have changed little, thousands of years ago this landscape would have been far greener than today. The engineers of Petra knew how to harness the water for their city by carving channels into the rock, but they were not alone in their skill. Just like the modern Bedouin, Jordan's ancient peoples had a remarkable ability to make the most of the country's natural environment. Whether settled or nomadic, their lives have changed and adapted with the supply of water and fertility of the land. The very first signs of people living in settled communities in Jordan came in the New Stone Age or Neolithic period. A short drive from Petra takes the traveller back in time more than 8,000 years. This is the settlement of Al-Baida. It would have been a noisy, lively village. The inhabitants were pioneers of agriculture and animal husbandry.
This is where the way we kind of live today first started. We're first getting, animal domestication. We're first getting people are growing barley intentionally. They're grinding things. They're eating things that we recognize as food that we eat, and so on and so forth. The diet we have now. But I think, we tend to think of the Neolithic revolution, and that's great. It's a revolution. It's really changing, but it's also happening very slowly.
Archaeologists have been working on Neolithic sites across this area for decades. A visitor venturing beyond the confines of Petra will be treated to a living archaeology lesson.
Petra is part of a pattern of Mediterranean, Roman, Nabatean world. As a spectacular site, it's unique and special to Jordan. But there's something quite different about the Neolithic, which really is a unique story coming out of Jordan. The history of how people began to settle down and grow crops and things. So there's a very unique, specific history that's all very much Jordanian. And one of the things we've been trying to do is actually to connect these sites together so that people can come and understand the whole process, because it's quite a complicated process and it's a long, long time ago and it's a bit difficult in some ways, and the architecture's fallen down a lot, so we've begun a program of building restoration, experimental restorations.
There are Neolithic sites across this region. Although to the untrained eye they may look similar, they span a vast stretch of time, from a period when humans started to build rudimentary huts and tame wild animals, through developments in architecture until the creation of pottery and ornate jewellery. These changes transformed human life just as much as computers and the internet have changed our lives today. The area of Wadi Faynan lies about 40 kilometres north of Petra. It's a stunning landscape, rich in wildlife, with a number of Neolithic sites. One of the world's oldest is Wadi Faynan's 16.
We opened up a large trench just over on this other knoll, just across from here. And we found directly under the surface the remains of a large number of circular, what we call pre-pottery Neolithic A buildings. We also found a much larger one. But here next to me you can see a reconstruction of one of the smaller buildings, and as you can see it's semi-subterranean. By that I mean part of it is built underground, then you have a little bit protruding, and it's made using pisé, which is a mixture of clay and some kind of temper. And then it has beams going across to support reeds and is covered by mud on the top.
Wadi Faynan is the site of another major landmark in human history. The area has been equally blessed and scarred by one thing: copper. Scientists have uncovered evidence of one of the world's earliest industrialised cultures. From Neolithic to Roman times, this region was mined.
This is one of the mines in Wadi Khaled. This is one of the central areas for mining in the whole Fainan district. It's certainly been used since the Bronze Age, it was used in the Iron Age, and we know the Romans drove some prospection shafts in here to see if they could exploit and widen the copper resource here. And we know from some of the ancient texts that the rulers would condemn political opponents to these mines, and they would send every member of their wider family. So if you'd upset the king, the pharaoh, the Roman emperor, you'd be sent to the mines, but so would all your children, your wife, and all your extended family, such as the appetite for labour in places like this. So probably the best way of thinking about these is a giant political prison camp, like a gulag.
While archaeologists find rich evidence of past life in Wadi Fainan's soil, another valuable source of information about the past lies in the local people. Ethnographers spend a great deal of time talking to them.
It's now much more recognised, but recording the contemporary or the recent past and making the people who live here now and their history as important as the archaeological monuments and as much valued. When people think of archaeology, they think about ancient ruins, massive heaps of stone like this, and Romans and Byzantine people and the Iron Age and the Bronze Age. What I do is about the people who live here now and their history and how much that should be valued, equally as valued as the massive stones that you see here.
Wadi Fainan is a wonderful place to spend a few days. It offers an eco-friendly hotel and, alongside the archaeology, a magnificent landscape offering a wealth of natural beauty. A visit to the region wouldn't be complete without meeting some of its generous and hospitable local people.
والله أنا بحب السواح وبحب إن المنطقة تتطور سياحة. كل ما تطورت سياحة بيكون كمان بيجينا دخل بيجينا إشي من السياحة يعني.
Take a spectacular drive into the mountains from Wadi Fainan and you come to one of the region's newest visitor destinations, the village of Al Matan. Today Al Matan is largely deserted. The residents have moved to a more modern town up the hill. But there was a time when families lived here, working together, living from the land.
احنا قلنا القرية الناس تركوا القرية تقريبا في بدايات السبعينات، وجزء من الأسر يعني زي أسرتي أنا تركوا القرية في بداية الستين، يعني 1960 تركوا وانتقلوا إلى عين البيضاء. ليش؟ أولا المكان يعني ضيق لا يستوعب التوسع السكاني. اثنين، المكان بعيد عن الخط الرئيسي اللي هو الخط الملوكي، الهاي واي الكينج واي، فبالتالي يعني أسهل لهم وأيسر، والمنطقة بتساعد في العين البيضاء، يعني انتقلوا إلى العين البيضاء.
Archaeologists are just beginning to investigate this village. They hope finding more about the lives of these people and their relationship with the land will shed light on the lifestyle of people in the past.
We're studying this actually much more modern building that was constructed around 1925 to help us understand how they may have used the Neolithic buildings. And the reason why we're here is because they use a lot of the same building materials in their construction. They use the local clays, they're using the stones.
Although separated by thousands of years, just like the people of Petra, the residents of Al Matan also had to bring water to their village. The study of how water's been managed can reveal a great deal about the lives of people in this landscape, ancient and modern.
You can see that there's not much water flowing into or much water flowing out of this cistern here today, because there really isn't sufficient to maintain a really vigorous and active agriculture of the scale that would feed Matan and enable the people to sell their crops further on to raise some money. But as you walk this landscape, you can actually find traces of much older water management. And for over 1,000 feet into the wadi behind me, there are traces of field systems that probably go back to the Neolithic, probably go back 7,000 years. And as you walk those terraces, you can see clear evidence of people controlling water throughout that period. Every single point where there's water coming from the rocks, somebody's trying to capture it. And the masters of this were the Nabateans, and the Nabatean irrigation system is probably the system that underpins even most of the modern system that's going on here today.
While scientists study the landscape and water supply, much can also be learned from the memories of the elderly former residents.
اشتغلوا عندك اليوم صبة بدي أنا صب داري شايف يلتموا اللي بيجيب بلان اللي بيجيب خشب اللي بيجيب قصب اللي بيجيب الطيني اللي بيجي ناس بتها للعونة اللي هي بتشتغل ذبايح وبسووا عيش كان قمح برغل مش رز ما كان رز يعني عبرة ناس بتها اللي بيشتغلوا وناس بيشتغلوا فكانت الحياة كلها واش تعاون
اللي عنده أكل يطعم اللي في جنبه بده واحد يبني يسوي له شغلة الكل يشتغل معاه هذا يساعد لأنه كان في فقر في هذاك الوقت بشكل صعب أن يوصل.
It's hoped the research work being carried out at Al Matan will help the former residents attract tourists to share their disappearing way of life. They're building a new visitor centre and creating accommodation to allow visitors to stay and enjoy the beautiful surroundings.
فهذا مكان يعني موئل للراحة وموئل للاستمتاع، موئل لإطلاق الخيال، موئل لاستمتاع بالطبيعة، مكان ممتاز لمشاهدة شروق الشمس الرائع والأروع غروب الشمس في المكان.
There's so much to see across this region of Jordan. It's well worth venturing into the countryside to view some of the exciting archaeological research and meet the hospitable local people. From the very first humans to today's villagers and Bedouin, the adaptability and ingenuity of the people of southern Jordan cannot fail to impress.
One of the important things about southern Jordan and this area is that we can begin to learn ideas that society is constantly evolving, it's never stable, and that a community will never just finish and end. There's always going to be the next phase, the next step.
And it's very interesting to see how people responded to environmental change and how they interacted with their environment. And perhaps we can learn some important lessons that can help us with the challenges we face with the environment today.
And things are still changing in Jordan. For many, tourism now provides a valuable income, a new resource that supports the lives of hundreds of people. By sharing their lives with visitors from all over the world, today's Jordanians are hoping to keep their history alive and leave a legacy that will allow them to share their resourcefulness and expertise with generations to come.